Meet Michael Phelps. He eats 10,000 calories a day and 700 grams of carbs a day. And yet, he's lean, ripped, and has only 8% body fat. The most common question clients ask me is, how many carbs is too many carbs from a weight loss perspective? Do I have to eat a keto diet? Don't I have to be in ketosis? Burn fat to lose fat, right? Shouldn't I get a keto mojo and use a keto breathalyzer to check my ketones? Lillie, I heard doctors online saying eating carbs will make me fat. I always respond with, have you ever met a vegan or a vegetarian? They are some of the smallest, leanest, tiniest people I've ever met, and yet they eat almost an exclusive carbohydrate diet. This is a picture of me back when I was eating pizza, pasta, and cookies every week. However, I was in a calorie deficit. And as a bonus, I was working out for 2 hours really hard 5 days of the week. Okay, now there's a reason why I no longer eat the pizza, pasta, cookies diet, because back then I was having more UTIs, yeast infections, irregular menstrual cycle, more PCOS-like symptoms, more dandruff, acne, joint pain, irritability, fatigue. I had to take a nap every day after having my sugar crash. So even though sure I was skinny, I wasn't necessarily healthy. My husband was in the bodybuilding world, but then he decided to try an experiment with a fruit diet, and he was eating 8 to 10 pounds of fruit a day. He did not gain any fat whatsoever, and in fact, he lost 35 pounds. So whenever I hear someone say that eating fruit makes you fat, I'm like, whoa, like how much fruit are they eating? Now again, my husband no longer eats an only fruit diet because, well, one, he didn't actually want to lose all of that muscle. And then secondly, even after doing that for just a few months, he got gout and he was in so much pain, he couldn't even walk. But the point is, carbs do not make people fat. Overeating, eating more food than the body requires, causes weight gain. Spiking insulin multiple times a day does not make people fat. Now granted, I wouldn't intentionally try to spike my insulin multiple times a day, but from a weight loss perspective, foods that spike insulin does not make someone fat. Again, someone can be eating a processed junk food diet, be in a calorie deficit, or be working out a lot and be skinny. Someone could be eating 10 pounds of fruit a day and be lean. What causes weight gain is eating more food than the body requires. If I ate 10,000 calories a day like Michael Phelps, I would gain weight. If Michael Phelps ate 10,000 calories and sat on the couch all day, he would gain weight. But he's Aquaman, swimming, grooving, moving, and using the fuel. Therefore, 10,000 calories is not overeating for him. I've seen people overeat butter. I've seen people binge eat on pork rinds, overconsume bacon, and they're like, but these things have no carbs in them. Why am I not losing weight? Or in fact, why am I gaining weight? And again, they're just eating more fuel than their body requires. I just had a client who has over 100 pounds to lose, and they need a very simple meal plan. And I said, okay, just eat meat, eat until you're comfortably full. Let's do that for 30 days and see what you naturally do when you're just told to eat intuitively. At the end of the 30 days, he said he did not lose any weight and he did not cheat whatsoever. And then I looked into his macros, tracked his calories, and I was like, wow, okay, this dude knows how to throw it down, because he was still eating like 4,000 calories a day, and yet he doesn't do any exercise or require all of that fuel. All right, well now the question is, if carbs don't cause weight gain, carbs are still bad, right? Like sure, you can be skinny eating carbs, but that doesn't mean carbs are healthy, right? Great question. I like to think there are two different categories of carbs. We've got our man-made processed junk food carbs, like pizzas, donuts, and chips, and then we've got nature's carbs, like fruits, honey, maple syrup, dairy, vegetables, liver, and eggs. The word carbs is a very broad term, and so when people say avoid carbs, don't eat carbs, I'm over here like, what specific food are we talking about that has carbs that people should avoid? Is it nature's carbs or is it man-made carbs? And even with that said, while yes, there are carbs in, let's say, pizzas, donuts, and chips, they also are 50% fats. We try to blame the carbs with these foods, but these foods also have bad fats, trans fats, oxidized fats, seed oils in them. You can see how the word carbs gets a bad rap, when personally, I don't care that a donut has carbs in it. I eat carbs every day. The reason I don't eat a donut is because there's no protein in it, no vitamins, no minerals. Yes, there's refined sugars, there's artificial trans fats, there's food colorings, there's toxic ingredients and chemicals in them. There's nothing good, just a bunch of nasty nasties up in her, that putting this into my body doesn't really, do any good for me. I mean, yes, I'd be happy for like the 5 minutes I'd eat this, but then the other 23 hours and 55 minutes in the day, I'd have to find other ways to keep my happiness elevated. I don't just rely on food to give me happiness. And then I'd also have to deal with all these funky ingredients in my body. This egg has carbs in it. My beef liver has carbs in it. And yet I think that eggs and beef liver are some of the healthiest foods that someone can eat. And so if carbs are bad, does that mean the two most nutrient dense foods on the planet should be avoided? Now granted, like an egg has, very little carbs, but then the argument becomes, well, how many carbs is too many carbs? Is it 1 carb a day? 8 grams of carbs a day? 37 grams of carbs? 112? When does having carbs all of a sudden become bad? Again, to me, the carbohydrate number doesn't matter. It's what are the foods providing you that you're eating. For me, I don't eat man-made junk food because they don't provide me much of anything.
You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Then with nature's carbs, you have to ask yourself, when you have a potato, how do you feel? Does your toenail fungus come back? If you have a tablespoon of honey, does the sweet taste make your sugar cravings come back? And before you know it, now you're binge eating ice cream? When you have an onion, does it make you have more BO? Do your migraines come back? When you have milk, do you have more sinus congestion? If a food causes you a negative response, then I wouldn't eat it. And that same food may be awesome for someone else, and that's okay. The other day on Instagram, someone asked, Lillie, I saw this post where people said that if you have dairy, then you're gonna get fat. Is that true? And I was like, well, I've had dairy every day for years. My husband drinks 4 cups of milk every day, a cup of yogurt every day, an ounce of cheese every day, and he's not overweight. He eats way more carbs than I do, and we just got his blood work done, and in a lot of ways, his blood work was better than mine. We just went over the results with Dr. Sabrina Solt, and I'll post that video soon, so stay tuned for that. But what I'm trying to get at is there's so much confusion online about what to eat, how much to eat, what time to eat. And when I'm trying to navigate what to personally do with my diet, I just, start with using logic. Does the food have vitamins and minerals in it? Does it make me feel good? Does it help me reach my goals? I don't intentionally try to eat any particular diet. I don't try to eat a low-carb diet. I don't try to eat an animal-based diet. I eat the Lillie Kane diet, which means I prioritize protein-rich foods. Foods that have vitamins and minerals, that make me feel good, that give me lots of energy. I happen to eat a lower carb diet, not because I'm afraid of eating carbs, but because the foods that I gravitate towards that make me feel good, make me feel like $1,000,000, they tend to be foods that are lower carb. I find for me, there's kind of a threshold on how many carbs I can handle before I start having more menstrual cycle cramps, breast tenderness, mood swings, irritability, feeling sleepy in the middle of the day, wanting to take a nap, more puffiness to my face, and more bloating depending on the food that has the carbohydrates. So something like milk, fruit, and honey don't really cause me to have bloating, but then like certain vegetables or potatoes, potatoes will definitely give me like more of a food baby kind of bloaty look. Also, carbs make me hungrier. Now, I like that because I tend to undereat when I just eat protein and fat. I tend to naturally just eat less, and I don't want to be in a calorie deficit, so I do strategically have carbs to make me hungrier, though I'm not trying to eat like massive amounts of carbs so I'm like hungry all the time, because that wouldn't make me feel good either. And if someone's trying to lose weight, if they know that when they have something like honey, it doesn't fill them up for very long, so then they're hungry and they're going to eat more food, then maybe they don't want to be incorporating as many carbohydrates if it's going to cause them to be hungry all the time when they're trying to lose weight. If I were trying to lose weight right now, I would just prioritize eating more proteins and fats, as it would just make me feel more naturally full, that I could lose weight being in a calorie deficit, but feel very satiated and full. And if someone's going to attempt a lower carb diet, I would ease into it. I know some people, they're eating a high carb or a processed junk food diet, and then they just rip it off like a Band-Aid and jump into a high fat diet. And they may feel like doo-doo, because there is a transition period where our bodies adapt from burning carbs for fuel to fat for fuel. I have people in my family right now who are attempting a lower carb diet, and they're like, Lillie, I'm having headaches, I feel awful, I think my body prefers carbs. carbs. And I'm like, maybe that's true, but also there is just this normal transition period where the body's learning to adapt with this new fuel source. I would highly recommend if someone is doing a lower carb diet and to kind of mitigate these headaches, migraines, low energy, poor sleep, fatigue, muscle cramping, face twitches, or heart palpitations, then I would rely more on electrolytes. The brand of electrolytes I use is called Element because it's a very clean ingredient brand with no sugar or artificial ingredients. It comes in a packet like this where I can just pour it into my water, my milk, you can put it in coffee, and it adds more sodium, magnesium, and potassium into your diet and helps our body have more of these really essential minerals, especially when in a lower carb state. You can use the link in the description to get 8 additional free packets of all of Element's different flavors with any order, or you can get those 8 additional free packets of Element by going to the URL drinkelement.com/LillieKane. They also have a money back guarantee too. So if you try it and you don't like it, you can get your money back. Now this is very important. Just because someone's doing a lower carb diet does not mean they're in ketosis. I have never been in a ketogenic state when on social media. I've done a ketogenic diet for about 4 to 5 months. This is years ago, prior to me being on social media. But since my existence on the internet, I have not done a ketogenic diet, nor does it matter to me. A keto diet is a very low carb, moderate protein, very high fat diet. This means someone could be eating a vegan keto diet, so their macros are very low carb, moderate protein, very high fat. They're having olive oil, walnuts, avocados, coconut oil. They're keeping their macros in a ketogenic state, so they're not just doing a vegan diet, they're doing a keto vegan diet. Similarly, someone could be eating a Mediterranean diet and having low carb, moderate protein, very high fat. Someone could be eating a carnivore diet and be doing very low carb, moderate protein, very high fat. So a keto diet doesn't tell you what specific foods someone's eating. A ketogenic diet tells someone what macros they're eating. With people who eat a carnivore diet, people who I've seen online or clients who I've spoken with, I'd say 50% of them are doing a ketogenic carnivore diet. Not everyone doing carnivore is eating moderate protein. I'd say a lot of people are doing high protein, high fat, and that's okay. Usually to be ketogenic, in a therapeutic setting, when someone's using a ketogenic protocol for an intervention to treat like epilepsy, 80% of someone's calories would be coming from fat. Now, I think most people, they can probably get in a ketogenic state with 70 to 75% of their calories coming from fat, but you'd really have to use like a breathalyzer or a ketone measurer to see what for you is the specific macros to be at for you to be in a state of ketosis. But again, someone does not have to be in ketosis to lose weight. I'm sure you know someone who's lost weight who did not do a ketogenic approach. I'm sure you have done a diet before where you lost weight and it wasn't by doing a ketogenic diet. Of hundreds of clients who I've worked with, I can recall 4 of them who I specifically encouraged doing a ketogenic diet. 3 of them had cancer, and then 1 of them had just really bad mental health issues. Their debilitating depression, OCD, anxiety really had more relief when they were in ketosis. Other than that, the majority of people who I see are coming for weight loss or to heal skin issues or digestive problems, and so you don't have to be in ketosis to do that. Now, I have clients who just want to do a ketogenic diet, and that's totally fine too. Personally, I like to keep my protein higher, but a higher protein diet doesn't work for everyone. I care less about measuring my ketones and more about measuring my blood sugars. So I really wouldn't invest in like a Keto Mojo or some sort of like keto breathalyzer unless you're trying to be in ketosis. For me, I would invest in something like a CGM. Like I've done this many times, having a CGM. I'm gonna actually put one in right now after this to test my blood sugars through a week and see which foods raise my blood sugars. So that would be the thing that I would prioritize more as a CGM versus like a ketone reader. The reason I initially did a ketogenic diet was because, well, 1, my husband was doing it for his health, and because we grocery shop together, cook together, eat together, it was just easier for us to do the same thing. And then on top of that, I wanted to stop my sugar cravings at that time. Though again, I think I could have totally done that and still had less sugar cravings by just having more protein. But then also my husband said that when he would do a keto diet, he would have very vivid dreams, and he would get so excited to go to bed at night because he was like, I'm gonna go on this crazy adventure of a dream. And it made me pretty jealous, and I was like, wow, I wanna experience these crazy fun dreams. So I was like, I'm gonna do a ketogenic diet. I never did a keto diet to lose weight or to help with mental health issues or to heal an autoimmune disease, though I did experience the benefits doing a ketogenic approach. Like I said, at that time, it helped me with my sugar cravings. I had more mental clarity, less brain fog, and my skin started clearing up. But back then, I was under eating. And so in doing so, I also experienced hair loss. I was cold all the time. My menstrual cycle became irregular. I wasn't trying to undereat, but when I had switched from eating processed foods to more whole foods, I was naturally so full and satiated off a small amount of food that I naturally underate. Someone asked me the other day, isn't a keto diet dangerous? Aren't there all these negative side effects from keto? And my answer was no. If someone's undereating on any kind of diet, they may see, yes, muscle wasting and hair loss and low testosterone. Any kind of diet where someone's chronically undereating, it could lead to negative things. Though if someone's eating enough, then they may not run into any of these issues with keto. And again, a keto diet doesn't tell you what foods someone's eating. Someone could be eating the processed junk food keto treats that you now see all over the grocery stores. That doesn't necessarily mean those foods are healthy just because they're keto. Someone said, but aren't you going to become nutrient deficient eating keto? Again, a keto diet is super flexible in terms of you can pretty much eat like a lot of different foods as long as you're staying low carb, moderate protein, high fat. So you can be eating a vegan diet, a Mediterranean diet, a carnivore diet. It's pretty easy to not become nutrient deficient. You just have to be putting in the right kinds of foods to get in your nutrients. So yes, I think that a keto diet can be healthy and it can be healthy to do long term, but not everyone has to do a ketogenic approach, and some people are not going to do as well doing keto macros. They might do well with it for a few months, 6 months, and then it may not be as well for them in the long run. To give an example, I had a client who had like 30 pounds to lose and said they were trying to do keto to lose weight, and they'd been doing keto for 4 years, and they were pricking their finger every morning to read their blood glucose. Now keep in mind, if someone's morning fasted blood sugars every single day are above 100, that could be a sign of prediabetes. This person, every morning, their blood sugars were reading 300 to 350. I thought their blood sugar reader was wrong, and I told them to test it on their family members, and they're like, yeah, my other family members, their blood sugars are reading 80, and I went to the doctor and had them test it, and it is above 300. Again, this person was having 0 sugar, and yet their blood sugar was super elevated, meaning their body, even without any sugar, was creating the sugar to keep their blood sugars elevated. To me, that's a signal that for some reason, your body wants to have more sugars in the body. So I said, okay, I know this sounds counterintuitive, but clearly you've been doing a low carb diet and that's not helping your blood sugars. Let's give your body some sugar, some carbohydrates, and see if that helps your body stop producing as much sugar and give it a chance to relax. I lowered their fat, increased their carbs, I switched them from having beef to more chicken, more fish, and then having things like rice and potatoes, some fruit. Sure enough, after a week, their blood glucose readings were down 50 to 100 points each day. So again, certain people, they just may not do as well on high fat or on high fat for long periods of time. I've had people say that fruit makes them fat, and essentially what they were doing is taking what they were currently eating and then adding fruit on top. Now, I don't care if you add fruit on top or if you add more meat or if you add more fat, that would increase your calories and you would likely gain weight. Now, if I were to increase more carbs, what I would have to do then is therefore take what I'm currently eating, subtract something, and then add in that new food or that new thing that has the carbohydrates to not gain weight. If you have more questions or want to talk more one-on-one, I do offer health coaching where I can create your meals, help structure your meal plan to help you reach your goals. If you're interested in that, there'll be a link in the description to my coaching services. Don't be silly, subscribe to Lillie, and I'll see you in the next one.